Welcome to Football Game Plan's College Football Kickoff Show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and it's Week 10 in college football, and we welcome back the Pac-12 and Mid-American Conference. So now all FBS conferences are now playing football, so that's a great thing to see. But as always, we start the show off with teams that have found themselves in a bit of a rut and have to work their way out of it to get back in good graces with our gut check. After a long weekend, it's painfully obvious that LSU really needs to dig deep and get significantly better on the defensive side of the ball. Now, offensively speaking, we understand where they had their mishaps with those turnovers, but the porous defensive efforts reared its ugly head once again as they were blown out against the Auburn Tigers. Minnesota is another team that's in desperate need of a gut check. The Gophers have looked terrible on defense in back-to-back games to start the season. While their offense has been respectable and in some cases, like against Maryland, gave them a chance to win, they aren't able to overcome a defense that struggles to eliminate the big play and also get off the field. Kansas has to figure out a formula that works for them. It's been a struggle on both sides of the ball for the Jayhawks, and without their star back Puka Williams the rest of the way, as he opted out the rest of the season, it may be even tougher for the Fighting Les Miles. And finally, Georgia Tech has to recapture that mojo that we saw from them earlier in the year. It just is too many mistakes for the Yellow Jackets, which has played a significant role in their inability to close out games. I guarantee once that gets under control, their fortunes will quickly change for the better. As I said earlier, the Pac-12 and Mid-American Conference are back playing football, so here's what we should expect from those teams this upcoming weekend. Firstly, we'll get to see some new head coaches take the field with Washington's Jimmy Lake, Washington State's Nick Rolovich, and Colorado's Carl Durrell. Now, Lake is stepping in for the departed Chris Peterson, who stepped down after the season and has the easier track to have immediate success because of the continuity. Now, we will also get to see some good quarterbacking out in the state of California with USC's Caden Slovis, who played fantastic last year, UCLA's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who had a flair for the dramatic with the Bruins, and Cal Berkeley's Chase Garbers, who put together an impressive performance with a 14-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Now, all guys are coming off of strong seasons and will look to maximize the opportunity in 2020. Now, there are some teams fighting for respect like Arizona and Oregon State. They look to be the fly in the ointment in the conference this season, and I'm really excited to see a healthy Jamar Jefferson get back to his freshman form after an injury-plagued sophomore season. Then there's the dark horse team, in my opinion, that's Arizona State, led by head coach Herm Edwards and sophomore sensation, their quarterback Jayden Daniels. Coach Herm has done an excellent job so far in the desert and looks to have his strongest defense yet heading into this season. And with some of the opt-outs that happened across the board, a lot of teams like Stanford, Oregon, and Utah will have some big shoes to fill at key spots across the roster, all of which will make this year's truncated Pac-12 season must-see TV. Over in the Mid-American Conference, or MACtion as it is so affectionately known, they kick off their season with a full slate of games like Ohio and Central Michigan. The Bobcats' new starting quarterback will be UNLV transfer Amani Rogers, who is the perfect fit for head coach Frank Solich's offensive attack that's predicated on the run game. Now, they'll face a strong Central Michigan squad led by wide receiver Ja'Cory Sullivan that figures to be a serious contender in the Western Division. I'm trusting the run game and defense here in the MAC opener, which means I am taking the Bobcats. Western Michigan travels to Akron, and the Broncos' defense is led by the excellent Ali Fayyad, and they figure to be one of the better front sevens in the conference. Both Akron and Bowling Green were the only two bad teams in the MAC last season, so I know second-year head coach Tom Art, who is a fantastic coach and offensive mind, will try to flip that this year. It'll be tough for them against a stellar Western Michigan defense. I do like the Broncos. Eastern Michigan and Kent State will be a matchup between two bowl teams from last year, and the Eagles will be breaking in a new quarterback, but they do have the talented Quion Williams to lean on out there on the perimeter. Kent State has one of the best quarterbacks in the conference in Dustin Crum, who is very Tim Tebow-like in what he brings to the table. His dual threat capability will be what gives the Golden Flashes the edge in this ball game. If you like running backs, you'll like this matchup between Bowling Green and Toledo. The Falcons have the shifty Andrew Clare, who took a red shirt last season and is back in the starting role heading into the year. Toledo's Bryant Koback is a junior who transferred a couple of years ago from Kentucky and ran for over 1,100 yards last season and 12 touchdowns at an impressive 6.1 yards a carry. The Rockets also returned 14 starters and look like the favorite in the West Division. I like them to get off to a great start and defeat the Falcons. Ball State and Miami of Ohio should be an exciting game to watch, as the Cardinals will be surprised on both sides of the ball. I'm a big fan of running back Caleb Huntley and defensive end Christian Maine. Miami has 10 returning starters on offense, led by sophomore quarterback Brett Gabbert, who is a solid dual-threat player, and I'm more excited to see their defense as their secondary looks very strong this season. I'm taking Ball State here. They are my sleeper team this year in the conference, and I think they'll surprise Miami in this ball game. And finally, Buffalo takes on Northern Illinois, and the Bulls have arguably the best pro prospect in the conference in running back Jared Patterson. I really enjoy watching this young man run the football. He and Kevin Marks make up an impressive 1-2 combination in the backfield, so the obvious focus will be on Northern Illinois' ability to stop the run. Now, good thing they have a very good linebacker in Kyle Pugh, who was second-team all-conference back in 2018 and was hurt virtually all of last season, so getting him back healthy is huge for this Huskies defense. However, I don't think it'll be enough to stop the running of the Bulls. I'm taking Buffalo. We've reached November, and the Heisman Trophy race is heating up and is still as intense as it was when the season started. So here are my top 5 candidates for the coveted trophy. Ohio State's Justin Fields is only this low on the list because he only played 2 games, so expect him to skyrocket to the top spot as the season rolls along, especially if he's putting together performances like we saw from him in his first 2 outings against Nebraska and Penn State. Travis Etienne will be the guy in his Clemson offense now that Trevor Lawrence is out for a few games with COVID, and if he's able to put together 2 really big splash performances, especially this week against Notre Dame, he may even steal some votes away from Lawrence in the Heisman race if he hadn't done so already. Quarterback Mac Jones from Alabama is probably my 1B for the Heisman Trophy, and if he were the front runner for a lot of people, I definitely wouldn't object to it, as he's just been flat out impressive this year for the Crimson Tide. He's been steady, consistent, and has had some of the best accuracy on a deep ball in the country. But my 1A is BYU's Zach Wilson. Reason being, he's box office. He's both productive on the stat sheet and productive in the highlight department. Wilson makes 2 to 3 plays a game that just leaves your mouth wide open. To me, that's key for the Heisman Trophy. You have to be both spectacular and you have to be amazing. Wilson is both, and he has his Cougars undefeated, trying to crash the college football playoff party this season. How about we stay out west and preview some more games, starting with Utah State and Nevada. Now, the Aggies come into this game very questionable on defense, and they face a quarterback in Carson Strong, who's off to a blazing hot start, throwing 6 touchdown passes in 2 games, completing 75% of his passes as well. The Wolfpack is rolling right now, and I don't see them letting up one bit. I'm taking Nevada. Good point of attack matchup here between Wyoming and Colorado State. Wyoming does a great job of getting push on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and it'll be interesting to see how they match up against the Rams' stellar tight end, Trey McBride. I worry about the Rams' ability to stop the run, and that's what they'll get a heavy dose of against the Cowboys. I like Wyoming. 2 really good running back prospects in this game between UNLV and Fresno State. Ronnie Rivers of Fresno and Charles Williams of UNLV are both shifty and explosive backs that'll have their chance to generate those chunk plays on offense. Defensively, it'll come down to which team can you trust the most to get stops. Neither are trustworthy in that capacity, but I will lean on Fresno State's defense to get the job done. UCLA travels to Colorado to take on Calderell's Buffaloes. In games like this, during this weird year of pandemic football, you want to lean on the team with the most experience and continuity, and that's UCLA. So look for Chip Kelly's Bruins to outgun the Buffaloes en route to a victory. Stanford and Oregon meet up in Eugene, and we talked about how both teams had a lot of opt-outs to some pretty significant players. In my opinion, this affects Stanford more so than Oregon, as the Ducks have a ton of talent across the board and can overcome a few opt-outs at certain positions. They still have defensive end Kayvon Thibodeau, and who should find his way to the quarterback a lot in this ball game. Huge matchup in the Pac-12 early in the morning between Arizona State and USC. Both teams are very talented, with USC being a favorite to win the conference. However, Sun Devil quarterback Jaden Daniels does a great job in big games like this. And like I said earlier, this is probably the strongest defense that Coach Edwards has had since he's been there. They match up very well. I'm taking the Sun Devils to pull off the upset. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. There are some good matchups this week, and Friday night we have a huge one between BYU and Boise State. This is a big game for both teams, quite honestly. BYU is looking to notch an impressive win on their resume, as is Boise State, who has the benefit of fresh legs heading into this ball game. I do like BYU to win it on both sides of the ball. The Cougars are strong and will stay focused throughout, as they know there's a lot riding on this one. San Jose State, who is off to an impressive 2-0 start, take on San Diego State, who is also off to a 2-0 start. Very impressive on the season. Quarterback Nick Starkel has been everything the Spartans could have wanted at the position, but he'll face his toughest test yet against a stingy Aztec defense. We'll see defense prevail here. I like what head coach Brady Hoke has brewing on that side of the football. I'm taking San Diego State. An ACC matchup between Miami and North Carolina State. The Hurricanes are quietly 5-1 on the year, with their lone loss being to Clemson. They've rebounded nicely, winning 2 straight games, and NC State's offense has been a bit inconsistent, which Miami's defensive line should be able to feast upon. In this one, I'm taking the Canes to avoid the letdown in Raleigh. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by 9th and Lux. Visit the website 9thandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. Let's get back to previewing some games. We'll start in Columbus, where Rutgers travels out to take on Ohio State, and it's going to be up to their run game. Isaiah Pacheco, outstanding tailback, but can they stop the downward pressure they're going to see from Justin Fields, that offense, and also that Ohio State defense? I don't think so. I do like Ohio State to take care of business against a very game Rutgers opponent. Up at West Point, Air Force travels to take on Army, and this game is going to be one of the fastest games of the weekend because it's option football, but Army is still one of the better football teams in college football. I like how they have rebounded since that Cincinnati loss, and also Air Force, who got out of the gates pretty quickly with an upset win, have lost the last 2 games in a row. So I do think Army will take care of business against the Falcons. Tulsa takes on Navy, and this should be a very good game in the American Athletic Conference because you have the Tulsa Golden Hurricane with the fantastic defense going up against an offense that we know is not familiar to most people in the triple option of Navy. Can Navy's defense be up to the task on the back end and stop that passing game that they're going to see from Tulsa? That's going to be the biggest challenge in this one for the midshipmen. I do like the defense of Tulsa to get the job done against Navy. Over in the Big Ten, Nebraska gets back onto the field after their game against Wisconsin was canceled to take on an undefeated Northwestern Wildcat squad that has their eyes set on a Big Ten West title. Nebraska can stake their claim for that as well if they're able to get the victory, but in order for that to happen, they'll need their offense to not have an off day, as Northwestern can really smother you defensively. I think the layoff will have an effect on the Cornhuskers, so I'm taking Northwestern to move on to 3-0. In Conference USA, Rice plays host to the Roadrunners of UTSA, and for UTSA to win, running back Sincere McCormick, who leads the nation in rushing by the way, will need to find his rhythm early against this speedy Rice defense. And speaking of defense, it is what has me most concerned about the Roadrunners in this one. Keep an eye out for Rice wide receiver Austin Trammell in this ball game. He'll have a huge day for the Owls en route to a victory. Arkansas State travels to Louisiana to take on the Raging Cajuns, and for the Red Wolves in this ballgame, it'll be about the ability to stop the run on defense and their ability to connect deep down the field in their passing game. They definitely have the players to accomplish both. However, we've seen the Cajuns do a better job on the back end. While their run defense is still iffy, look for them to eke one out against Arkansas State. A lot of points should be scored in the Duke-North Carolina game, mainly from North Carolina's end. They are so dynamic and explosive on offense and will make this one a track meet from start to finish. Duke's best chance to pull off the upset will be to not miss out on any opportunities to turn the ball over, and if you do, you have to capitalize on those opportunities. I don't see that happening in this game. I like the Tar Heels. Kansas State and Oklahoma State meet up on the gridiron. Both are coming off of losses. Freshman quarterback Will Howard needs to have a bounce-back game for Kansas State after struggling against West Virginia. Now, Oklahoma State learned the hard way against Texas about finishing ball games. I think we'll see both teams get back on the right track, making this one a very tightly contested ball game. But I'm going with the Pokes here. Look for Oklahoma State's defense to be the story in this one. Houston takes on Cincinnati in a big-time matchup in the AAC, and this one is about strength versus strength. The strength of the Cougars, their offense, and their ability to work every quadrant of the field. The strength for Cincinnati, their defense and their ability to not only get pressure, but take the ball away. And on offense, they do a great job of pushing the pace down the field on both ends of offense. So I think Cincinnati is the more complete team in this one. I'm taking the Bearcats to move on and to continue their undefeated season. Speaking of undefeated seasons, you look at what Liberty is doing right now. They're 6-0 as they head over to the state to Blacksburg to take on Virginia Tech. And when you look at Malik Willis and what he's done so far this season at quarterback for Liberty, it's been outstanding. He can throw the football a country mile, but also has the speed to really rip up yards and chunks. So he's the dual threat in this ball game that Virginia Tech will have to worry about. For Virginia Tech and their run game, Khalil Herbert does a great job of breaking off chunk plays, and that's the biggest element in this one. For Liberty, their defense will have to stop that run game of Virginia Tech. They're going to have to keep their eye on Hayden Hooker at quarterback, who is a good dual threat quarterback in his own right. I like Virginia Tech in this one. I think this one will be close. If I had to pick a game that'll go into overtime, it'll be this one, but I'm taking the Hokies. Michigan looks to bounce back against Indiana, who is undefeated and ranked this high for the first time since 1993. And Michigan has to find a way to overcome teams attacking them deep down the field. We saw Michigan State do that, and best believe we'll see Indiana try to do that with Michael Penix, the outstanding quarterback, throwing deep down the field to his tremendous targets at receiver. But can Indiana continue to stop the run? That's going to be key, because Michigan will try to come in, lean on that defensive front, try to run their way to victory. It's going to be interesting. Indiana hadn't beat Michigan since 1987. They've only beaten them 9 times in their school history. I think Michigan gets back on the winning track and knocks off the Hoosiers. The SEC game of the week is between Florida and Georgia, and that great rivalry that those two programs have. Florida is entering this ball game with a tremendous offense, and the defense has slowly gotten better each and every game. And they're taking on a Georgia team that is going to be beat up on the defensive side of football, that may or may not be without 3 starters at all 3 levels. So there's an opportunity for Florida to have some success. Plus, offensively speaking, if Georgia comes in with that one-dimensional offense and not being able to throw the football to at least provide some balance, it could be a problem against the Gators. I think what's going to happen, we're going to see Georgia's defense be game, try to steal some possessions away, but I don't think their offense can capitalize. I do like Florida to win this one in a close one. And now it's time for our Game of the Week preview, and this week we go to South Bend as Notre Dame plays host to Clemson. All eyes offensively for Clemson will be on quarterback DJ Uiagalelei and what he can do for an encore, because his game against Boston College, where he brought that team back, was impressive. Now he faces a step up in weight class on the defensive side in Notre Dame. And for that Clemson Tiger defense, how well can they stop the run? Because they're going to see a lot of it from Kyron Williams and that big offensive line of Notre Dame. Their focus will be to put the pressure on Ian Book to make plays in the passing game consistently. And for Notre Dame, if they can frustrate the freshman, make sure they play gap control and not allow him to get outside the pocket or extend plays with his legs and force him to play a strictly one-dimensional game, it bodes well for their chances. I worry about Notre Dame's defense on the back end going deep down the field, and we know Uiagalelei has the arm and the accuracy to make them pay. I do like Clemson in this ball game. Should be a fun one, an entertaining one, and one where we will learn a lot about both Notre Dame on offense as well as on Clemson's defensive side of the football. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's College Football Kickoff Show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.